everyone. As mentioned, my name is Jeff Pehler. I'm a partner in our consumer industrial products practice and based out of Minneapolis. I'm at West Monroe right now, but I actually started my career as a mechanical engineer at Toyota. So I designed cars for about 6 years before going back to school for my MBA, and then worked on industrial manufacturing at KPMG, where I focused on corporate strategy as well as M&A advisory. Did a lot of operation due diligence, so spent a lot of time on the shop floors. And after about 7 years of spending 90 hours a week doing M&A diligence and having a child and realized that's not sustainable, I decided to do something that was more sustainable and landed at West Monroe about 4 years ago. Right now, I focus on strategic value creation and ensuring it's sustainable. I actually, like I said, in mechanical engineering at University of Wisconsin and did my MBA at the University of Michigan. So wanted to make sure I checked as many Big Ten boxes as I could before I got too old. So thank you. Kylie?
Well, my name is Kylea, and I don't know what a Big Ten is because this is Big 12 country. I am a senior manager in our Dallas office, so right down the street, and my degree is actually in biochemical engineering from Oklahoma State. This is really important because I do have a football reference later. You may have not heard of the Oklahoma State football program, but according to me, we haven't played football in Stillwater in about 2 seasons, so I had to heavily research my football references. I started my career at Frito-Lay. I started in the San Antonio plant as the third shift manager. So I kind of managed everything from receiving raw materials all the way to sending it out to our customers. About 6 years ago, I made my way over to West Monroe. I get to work still in food and beverage manufacturing, but also kind of brought into more process manufacturing, and I get to help my clients do digital strategies. I get to help them go from not knowing what an ERP is to being able to actually see dashboards. So that's what I really enjoy doing. That is who Jeff and I are, and now we will tell you who West Monroe is. So West Monroe was born as a technology consulting firm about 25 years ago at a bar on West Monroe Street in Chicago. And you may wonder why I told you it was at a bar. So first and foremost, it's a great question. Q&A is later, but I'll answer this one because it's important to the story. Our founders, the week before they met at this bar, had worked at a place called Arthur Andersen, and apparently they needed a drink after that. So since in the last 25 years, we've really adapted and grown and changed. We're no longer just a technology firm out of Chicago. We are a global firm with about 12 different offices across, and we are not just technology anymore. So we are industry-led teams that will help clients with their business operations, the technology that enables those business operations. We often will work with the organizations and the people that make those businesses run, and of course, we do the M&A deals along the way. So we are proud to partner with organizations, everything from the mid-market fun ones, those small guys that you really get to be hands-on with, all the way to the Fortune 100s. And along the way, we really, because of that breadth, we get to do a ton of different projects. We get to help people doing their first digital transformation step. We're going to build that foundation for them, all the way up to large-scale transformations that are really culture and organizational changing. So today, we're here to talk about the difference between an evolution and a revolution. And I think we kind of get what the irony there is. West Monroe's really been a pioneer in technology. And so now we're saying, hey, this whole AI thing, maybe let's not be radical about it. So the reason that we're having this conversation is the lessons we've learned from that variety of projects that I just described. Over the years, what we've learned is what makes things impactful, what is going to make adoption more useful for those organizations, and ultimately what's going to be successful. So today, what we're here to talk about is not radical transformations. It's really going to be about the transformation that works for you and your organizations.
I think it's important to talk today because, as Kylie mentioned, we've seen companies take on this transformative change and fail. And so because of this, we have maybe a different perspective here. But how do you get to this radical change here? Typically, it's sometimes the consultant's fault. They come in, they march into your office, and they show you this meme graph, and they show, hey, you guys are behind. While you were sleeping last night, all of your competitors somehow got to this top of this innovation S-curve, and you're at the bottom. Good luck. So they're like, oh, wow. So you kind of a mild panic attack, and it gets worse. They tell you, well, failing to innovate can be disastrous. And you look at this slide and think, I do not want to be like Kodak. Or I could be the protagonist of an MBA case study in 15 years if I don't change my ways. I'm going to make this company go the way of the dinosaur. And these consultants are on the other side of the table thinking they're going to open up the checkbook and hand me a blank check to help them through this problem. But in reality, it happens sometimes. People start running blindly. Where are they going? Don't know. Where's the destination? Also don't know. But spend money, effort, time, resources, and bring the company along with them. On the flip side, just do nothing. Just sit there and wait. For what? Don't know. When are you going to stop waiting? Again, don't know. Come up with ideas. Well, when the interest rates go down, we'll start moving. That's when we'll invest in AI strategy. When we have good data, that's when we'll start moving actually too. Okay, and we start asking questions. Well, what level of interest rates? Don't know. All right, well, what define good data? How are you going to get there? Don't know. And both of these use cases and situations are just as bad for progress. So, but why does this happen? What's the reason behind this? And typically what we find is that the vision that you have on this revolutionary journey, much like this terrible photo, this AI-generated photo, it's unrealistic. But it's a good analogy here. Your vision is this 747-sized fighter jet, and it's zipping around. You can see as far as the skyline goes. And you're going 700 miles an hour, just zoom, 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 wherever you want to go, you can see it. You're happy. Then you come circle back around over the infantry, and that's your execution, just zipping. Again, unobstructed view, continually circling. Hey guys, look out over there, there's a mile ahead, we'll watch out, come on, let's go, let's go. And then your infantry is on the ground, crawling through the mud, and apparently, according to this photo, getting buzzed by this giant fighter jet and scaling 30-foot barbed wire fences. And at the end of the day, the pilots, they land their planes, and the infantry come to the airport. Pilots come out of their jets and their flight suits, their Tom Cruise glasses. They look sweet. They look pretty awesome. Infantry come out of the forest just covered in mud, head to toe. They have salt crystals on their face because of what they've experienced that day. The pilots look at them and say, hey, why didn't you guys keep up? What happens with the AI strategies that we see today? It's unrealistic to expect that you have the team on the ground keep up with a fighter jet if you're not given the tools and capabilities to bring them along. Secondly, we see, in the case of the waiter, you don't know what you're solving for. You don't have the fundamentals, the framework, the foundation to know what you're solving for. And so when you do that, you use feelings. Well, I think I should wait. I'm not really sure, though. I recently wrote a paper about companies that struggle to make data-driven decisions. And the reason why is because you need three things, and I called it the three-legged stool. You need the business application, or the use cases, you need the data, and you need the analytical horsepower and capabilities. If you don't have these three things or the framework, it's hard to get the facts behind it. Typically, when you look at the AI strategies that are developed, it's focused on the analytical part of it. And so, I want manufacturing AI. I want that buzzword. Great, don't we all? Okay. How are you going to apply that? What's the value of that? We get asked, what is the value of an AI use case on the shop floor? Hey, what are you solving for? Again, don't know. All right. Worse yet, can you guys give us the data so we can size the opportunity? So can you pull the data from the machines? We don't have that. So how are you going to then justify the AI investment if you don't have the use cases, or worse yet, you don't have the data? And typically, if you don't have the foundations, and you don't have the facts, and you don't have the framework to piece this all together, you're using feelings. And when you use feelings, that's when you start running blind, or you just wait.
All right, so Jeff's talked a lot about the problems, but I'm actually going to give you the answers. So what we're going to talk about today is the 5 principles that you need to be aware of if you want to make progress. Now, of course, we're talking about AI because it is the fun new thing. However, this is going to be really impactful whether you're doing AI, an ERP, dashboard for the first time, whatever it is. These are kind of the 5 things that I'd like you to keep in mind. So first and foremost, it's really about developing the right structure. What this really means is just building that foundation that's going to enable that evolution. It's like if you skip this step, you're building your house on quicksand, and that doesn't sound good to me. The next thing is going to be about creating a business-first operating model. Because you guys all run a business now. Your business works, it's profitable, you make a good, you make something. If we are pulling our resources away from running that business just for this technology, I don't think that technology is going to work either. Next up is staying disciplined. Running after every new thing, chasing every single thing is just a recipe for chaos. So we're going to talk about what that looks like, how we stay disciplined, and why it's actually going to be better for you in the long run. The next thing we're going to talk about is recognizing outcomes versus efforts. So we love checklists. Oh my gosh, I make a checklist every morning, and I love checking it off. That's effort, though. What did I actually do, and what was the value I drove? If I'm just checking things off a list, that doesn't really mean anything. We'll talk about that. And then finally, we'll talk about proving that it works. We're going to talk about starting small, showing results, and building momentum. So if we do these 5 things, we're going to set the stage for a transformation that lasts and that actually works. We're not going to be doing change for change's sake, and we're going to actually show value in the long term.
When we talk about right structure, it's not necessarily the organizational structure, it's more about the accountability. When you look up on the screen here, you see the common structure we see at manufacturing companies. You have a product owner, like the chief engineer of the Toyota Camry. And then you have the platform owner, the person who owns the chassis, per se. And these individuals are responsible for the daily development and launch of these vehicles and ensuring it goes as seamless as possible from concept all the way to the launch and maintenance of the vehicle throughout its life cycle. But they're not necessarily supposed to develop cross-functional use cases and leading technologies, identification of those, and what trends they should have in the vehicle. And so what companies often do is they develop centers of excellence. And in this case, and what we're seeing more and more of, is this AI and Innovation Center of Excellence. And they're responsible or accountable for creating these ideas and bringing these ideas to the teams. But they're not accountable for the implementation of the solution. And so as I mentioned before, I'm a mechanical engineer, so I'm going to nerd out for a second here on an example. Let's say I work for an automotive OEM in this AI and innovation COE. And I want to be able to tell Kylie when she needs new tires on her car. And so by doing this, I'm going to say, okay, a brand new tire is about 10 or 11 30-seconds of an inch of tread depth. When it gets worn, it's about 2 30-seconds. So what that means is as the tire wears, it's going to have more revolutions in order to carry the same distance. At least if that's what the Wisconsin math teacher taught me, I think we're on the same page here, we're good. So I bring this idea to the team and say, hey, software engineer, I want to count the revolutions of the tire and compare it against some finite amount. So let's use some mapping software. I said, not a problem, Jeff, I can do that. But by the way, you're going to want to talk to the telemetry engineer to make sure that we have that map data in the vehicle so we can do that. Okay, go talk to the telemetry engineer. Hey, I have this great idea. No problem. But by the way, you're storing some data. You're going to need more data capacity in the car. Okay, no problem. Okay, go talk to the hardware engineer. The hardware engineer says, yep, I can store more data. We'll just pay some more cost for the vehicle. I can get it for you. But by the way, make sure the telemetry engineer knows that that data has to go back up to corporate or some centralized platform or server so we can compute it later. Okay, great. So, yep, I got you, Jeff, we're good. And I start walking around like I'm that Tom Cruise, and there I had the greatest vision, now I executed, I'm so good. But I didn't solve the solution here. Kylie still doesn't know when her car needs new tires. All I did is develop the technical capabilities to then deploy it. I haven't told anybody when to collect the data. If I collect it every second, it's pretty expensive to bring that to the cloud, compute it, and then send it back. If I do it every month based off of Kylie's driving habits, I could miss when she needs new tires. I also haven't told anybody what to do with that data. Do I tell Kylie's vehicle to tell her that she needs new tires? Do I tell the dealer? Do I give the dealer Kylie's name, number, and information so that they can contact her? Or do I even go in the supply chain and say, hey, by the way, there's a predicted demand. Distributor, make sure you have Kylie's tires in stock. None of that's happened. And we see more and more of that because the COEs are responsible for the ideas and creation, not the implementation. And so by doing this, you don't have a solution owner, you have an idea generator.
Okay. So after you have the right structure, the thing that you're going to want to focus on is getting the right business operating model. So I've already teased this, of course, but in reality, we really want to align our innovation with the needs of your actual organization while ensuring you're not harming your organization. So what this might look like is having clear accountability, having a clear voice, maybe call it one chef that's calling out the orders in the restaurant. I know I worked at a Texas Roadhouse, which is not premier dining, but it even had one person in charge, right? So making sure that we have one voice, because that's going to allow us to not get bogged down in trying to make decisions. The next really important thing is, well, if I'm a waitress, I'm incentivized by getting a tip. So I really want to run that food out to my clients so then I can get more money. My incentive it makes a lot of sense, and I'm not really worried about getting hit by a stick. So when we're developing these initiatives, those are two really, really important things. We're going to have bottoms-up drives for our team. They're going to be the ones that are really accountable for it. They're the ones that want to do it because the incentive makes sense. It's going to make their job easier. And I'm going to have one clear person or a steerco or whatever that looks like that's accountable for the decisions. The most important thing on this slide, however, is about avoiding those making additional waves in a pond. We're going to have a little bit of disruption because the people that know your business work in your business. Jeff and I were talking about this earlier, actually. So Jeff's first project at West Monroe was with me, and we were at a small dairy manufacturer. They maybe had, call it 30 people in their entire office. So the first meeting I go in there, I'm doing their ERP strategy for them. They have 12 people sitting in this room. Well, so everybody that takes in the orders, does the sales, keys the production, makes the schedule, they're all sitting in the room with me. Which is great for a kickoff, but man, I can't take that much time because they're the ones that run the business. So we had to be really intentional and make sure that we had a very good path to say, hey, I need this voice now, so that way orders get entered and product gets shipped. So when we're doing this, we have to be very intentional, and we need to make sure that we're making sure we're not harming the business as we're doing these new technology initiatives. The next thing is about staying disciplined. So Jeff had a funny AI picture. I get one too. This is my sea turtle with a cake. So if we have any Ted Lasso fans in the audience right now, we are going to talk about why being a goldfish is not good for discipline. So Ted Lasso, of course, says the happiest animal is a goldfish because they have a short memory. I'm sure that works in soccer, but I don't think we play soccer. I think we run businesses. So if I am a business leader and I am working on technical initiatives or I am developing an AI chatbot, I want to be a sea turtle. Sea turtles live for centuries. They have very, very long memories. Sea turtles are going to plan their paths they know the right path for their food. They know where home is, and they have taken in data for years and years and years to get there. They're going to be very informed along the way, and they're not going to chase shiny new tides. Disciplined execution is really about focusing on what's achievable. We're going to bite off what we can chew, and we're going to make sure that cake is fully baked. Sea turtles apparently really like it when their cakes are not goopy. So spending the extra time on our initiatives and making sure that we're not chasing new technologies and we don't have that chaos means that we're going to be able to eat a very fully baked cake. We're going to be deliberate, consistent, and that's what's ultimately going to drive impact for your initiatives. I told you I was going to talk about football, so here's our football slide. This is about recognizing the outcomes versus the effort it takes to get there. So you are in the Metroplex, so we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys for a second, not the Oklahoma State kind. So if anyone remembers 3 or 4 seasons ago, Dak Prescott was up and there was a coin toss and he forgot to say that he deferred. So what that ended up meaning was the Cowboys neither got the ball nor got to pick their end zone. So we're not going to be Dak Prescott. We're going to identify what our end zone looks like. So it's really not about moving the ball in one way or the other. It's really about knowing which end zone is the right one. One way is points, the other one is just a safety. So we don't want to go that way. As an organization, you guys need to make sure that you're aligning to what the North Star looks like. You need to say, this is the path that we are going, and it needs to be aligned on with everyone in the organization. That's what a football team does. Next up, you need to understand how to score a touchdown. So there's a ton of different metrics in football. There's interceptions, there's yards, there's first downs, there's everything in between. But none of those things really puts points anywhere. That's not a touchdown, that's not a field goal. So what this might look like in an organization, if I am managing a warehouse, for instance, I'm doing warehouse and I'm doing distribution, I can manage the amount of times a pallet's moved. I can manage inventory on hand, I can see how many days it's been in my warehouse, I can do all those things. I can do on time and full to my customers. Those are really great metrics, those are first downs. What I want to talk about is how are we actually driving revenue? Well, okay, so I'm on time and full 99% of the time, and my CSAT is through the roof. Clients are buying more, they're giving me more money, that's actually driving value. That's the top line that we really care about. That's a touchdown. So making sure that we are driving towards something that actually puts points on the board. And the last thing, of course, not that I know anything about it because I live in Dallas, but it's going for the win. So going for the win is really prioritizing the initiatives that are going to deliver those results. So let's talk about doing something that that is an effort but isn't necessarily a result. I'm going to implement a WMS TMS solution. I get to check that off my little list. That is effort. That is driving down the field. If I don't cross into the end zone, if I don't translate that into cost savings, if I don't translate that into revenue uplift, well, I didn't put anything on the scoreboard. I'm definitely not going to win that way. So our football team is going to have a good direction. They are going to understand how to score a touchdown, and by golly, they're going to get it into the end zone. And our last principle is proving that it works. So they always say Rome wasn't built in a day. I think we all know that. But they also didn't plan Rome in a day. They wanted to make sure that they had a road before they planned out all of the blueprints for Rome. And that's what we need to focus on. You aren't going to build your digital initiative in a day. You're not going to build your Rome in a day. The Romans also, they didn't do that either. They did brick by brick until they ultimately had a Colosseum. So we're going to start small, we're going to demonstrate success, and we're going to use that particular foundation, those smaller initiatives, to say, hey, we can win this, and then move. So the other thing that's really important about those laying bricks is we should celebrate the bricks. Did you guys implement an analytics dashboard for the first time? That's amazing. Is that the first time that you were able to see those particular metrics? Is that the first time you were able to see cost across your transportation network? Amazing. Let's celebrate that. Celebrating that is going to recognize progress, it's going to keep your teams engaged, and it's going to show that progress is ultimately incremental, and we're going to stay focused on the larger vision. And the last thing I think is the hardest one, and this is the one that is going to be potentially the biggest one to drive momentum, and that's bragging about it. So bragging about it is sharing your successes. Oh my gosh, I built the Colosseum, you guys should come, see an event there. That's going to be the thing that gets teams excited. Teams want to be a part of something that is winning, that's gaining momentum, that's gaining success. So tell people about what you're doing. Tell people about the value that you're driving. And then you're going to be able to move forward and have more people involved. And again, if anybody has a winning football team that they'd like to recruit me to, I'll take that. So we are on the TLDR slide. Too long, didn't read. If you don't pay attention to anything that we say today, make it this thing. We're going to talk about the 3 things that you need to do to start right now. First and foremost, we're going to start small. We're going to show measurable impact before we're going to scale initiatives. Okay? We're going to prove that we can build it before we build a Colosseum. The next thing is we're going to commit to the strategy. We are going to bake our cake all the way, and we're going to ensure our sea turtle has a good thing to eat. We're going to stay focused, and we're going to ensure success. We're not going to chase every shiny new technology. And the last thing that we are going to do is we're going to define success first. We will not be Dak Prescott. We're going to know where our end zone is. And we're not going to chase, I don't know, terrible football analogy. It didn't come to me. I'm so sorry, guys. Dak Prescott. Don't be Dak Prescott. What else are we not going to do, Jeff?
When you think about what you shouldn't do is don't do what Kylie said to not do.
Oh, amazing.
But when you think about this, the big bang approach of wait and see is a recipe for disaster. People get bored, people get antsy, and as soon as you just wait, I'll tell you later, is a great way for this project to die. The other thing that we see is As I mentioned before, when you're running blind, you bring the whole company with you. And when you do that, you avoid the day-to-day and you let the foundation crumble. So I can guarantee the next project you're going to work on is fixing that foundation, and everything you just worked on gets thrown away. And it's a vicious cycle of up and down, fixing the foundation, building something, fixing the foundation. And so you have to protect the day-to-day because, to be honest, that's also what pays the bills. Lastly, when you think about this, like the business process and data, it's not the cool thing to work on, but it's the engine. It's the engine that's absolutely needed to build a race car. And so if you want to zip around with your analytics, you need that engine to be a part of it. And so you need all three. So if you ignore one, you're not going to be successful. But what do you do tomorrow? So when we think about what it is tomorrow that you need to do, as I alluded to before with the structure, you need an innovation leader to sit on the top of that innovation stool, as I explained, and have them be accountable. They must be accountable for the implementation of that solution. And you start small. You pick a pilot, as Kylea said. You do that and you brag about it. Because by doing that and starting small and showing the quick wins is you bring people along the journey with you. And by doing that, it's from the ground and not the top. And people want to be a part of it. People want to do cool stuff. They want to be innovative. And so by allowing them to do this and showing them versus telling them, it's a solution that you can have, and it's a recipe for success. And lastly, my favorite, people tell me that the C word is a bad word. I don't really think so. But the C word I'm talking about is consultant. Consultants aren't bad. We've actually seen a lot of stuff when we've helped a lot of companies face problems that many of your companies are also facing. And so by leveraging us, we can help you. And a lot of times, and especially at West Monroe, we are meeting companies with where they're at in their analytical maturity journey. And so by doing this, we can develop large-scale data platforms, or we can help you start small. And in one example, we have a client who didn't have the data platform that was necessary. They didn't want to hire data engineers or data scientists. It was a core capability that they had no clue what they were doing. So they said, rather than blindly hiring this one person, hey, West Monroe, can you help us out? And so from there, we actually developed an offering to where these companies and small-scale companies, and even some larger ones, are outsourcing all of those capabilities to us. So they couldn't make data-driven decisions, so we're helping them do that. We're bringing our data scientists. We're bringing our data platform. We actually supplement with third-party data. And now, rather than them focusing on this core capability and building it, and it taking 18, 24 months to do it, they leverage us, and we can do it in a couple weeks. So now they can focus on running the business, we can focus on giving them insights on a monthly basis, and everyone's happy. And so a shameless plug here, if you guys want to talk to me about this, I'll be at the booth tomorrow, and we call it Insights as a Service. But consultants can help you along the journey, whether it's capabilities, capacity, or just data and analytics, just broad stuff. So when you need somebody, look for help. I think we also have 6 minutes, according to this thing in front of me, for Q&A if anyone has any questions.
I have one. What's a Big Ten?
Probably one of the greatest conferences in college football currently.
Got it, okay.
All right, thank you everyone.